Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful to be here. It's my first time in Vegas. So thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Is that me? No. By a show of hands, how many people have heard of the quarter-life crisis? Okay, cool. Keep your hand raised if maybe you're kind of going through a quarter-life crisis right now. If you're over 30 like I am, and maybe it's like a third-life crisis or a midlife crisis, that's all good. This is a space of love. My mom is 62. She thinks she's having a quarter-life crisis, so we're good. If you raise your hand at all, you are not alone. Let me say that one more time. You are not alone. The truth is, 70% of Americans are disengaged at their jobs. 70%. 20% of those people are so disengaged, they're actively undermining their coworkers' work. They're literally getting paid by the company they work for to mess things up for everyone else. And this is really disturbing, right? This is disturbing not only because think about all the amazing things that those people could be doing if they found work that they care about, right? And think about how unfortunate it is that millions of people wake up every day not doing what they're supposed to be doing, maybe depressed, sad, and unfulfilled. And why care about this? Because I myself was one of those 70%. 2 years ago, I was living in Washington, D.C., a city I didn't really want to be living in, working for the federal government, doing a job I didn't really want to be doing. And it was really difficult because on paper, my job was very impressive. I was the special assistant to the director of global operations at a large government agency. I had a great salary. I had a 401k. When I went out to happy hour, people were impressed with my job title. My parents were impressed with my job title. Everyone thought what I was doing was amazing, but I wasn't happy. How did I know I wasn't happy? Every single day when I woke up in the morning and NPR woke me up with my alarm clock, I'd have this feeling, this shooting pain go down my back. I felt that pain when I woke up. I felt it when I got dressed. I felt it when I brushed my teeth, when I put on my tie, when I took the bus down to work, when I scanned my ID badge in at the office, when I went up the elevator, when I sat in my cubicle, when I was talking with my boss about best practices, and then when my boss emailed me every night at 10 p.m. That shooting pain turned into shingles. It was so brutal. So I was spending a lot of time in those days overdosing on Facebook and FOMO, fear of missing out. So I'd go on there and see all my friends doing these amazing things. My friend get his MBA, and like, maybe I should get my MBA. My friend was starting to work at a charter school. Maybe I should work at a charter school. My friend was opening a food truck. Maybe I should open a food truck, even though I don't know how to cook and I can't drive. Right? And there was my buddy who I went to college with. He had already graduated from an amazing law school, got this corporate job. He's making well over 6 figures, got a job in an amazing firm. And there he was traveling with his girlfriend in Peru and proposing at sunset in Machu Picchu. And there he's on Facebook proposing. I'm like, man, like I can't even get a date on OkCupid. This dude's got an amazing job. He's making all this kind of money. My life is in shambles. I hate my job. What the hell am I going to do? And it was only when I met other young people going through the exact same thing I was that I was able to have a breakthrough and find meaningful work. So this talk's going to teach you 3 simple lessons I learned on my journey that can help anyone at any age have a breakthrough. The first lesson I learned, find believers. Surround yourself with a community of believers. Because when I was back in DC, I'd come home every night to my roommate, Dan. I'd be like, Dan, I don't like my job. I don't want to do this anymore. I know it's impressive, but I want to move across the country. I want to live in San Francisco. I want to start writing. I want to start supporting social entrepreneurs. And Dan would look at me, kind of roll his eyes, take a swig of beer, be like, Smiley, suck it up. Everyone hates their job. And I was like, wow. That's kind of intense. You know, like I was 28 at the time. Like that's old, but it's not that old. I want to spend the next 40 years of my life depressed. But the truth is the majority of the world thinks like Dan, right? That's why 70% of Americans are disengaged at their jobs. So then I went to a program called Starting Block, the Starting Block Institute for Social Innovation, which brings together young people, mostly 20-somethings that are interested in social change. So at Starting Block, I met people like Debbie. Debbie was starting Goldie Blocks, a toy company to inspire the next generation of female engineers. I met people like Ted. Ted was starting MoneyThink, a nonprofit that teaches financial literacy and entrepreneurship to urban youth. I met people like Tom. Tom started Rising Tide Car Wash, a small business in South Florida with his father that employs people with autism. So I met these believers, and they were like, wait a second, Smiley. You want to move across the country, you want to start writing, you want to start supporting social entrepreneurs. No, you have to do that. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And they're like, no, you have to do that. If you don't do it, who's going to do it? It was an amazing thing, because when you find believers, you find accountability. So normally you tell someone you're going to quit your job, and they're like, yeah, dude, you said that like 6 months ago. Everyone's going to quit their job. Like, whatever, I'll see you next week. We'll have a beer. You'll still be at your job, right? You tell someone you're going to write a book, and they're like, everyone's writing a book. Yeah, join the club, right? I told people at Starting Block when I was going to quit my job, and my buddy Evan was like, okay, when? When are you going to quit your job? And he texted me every single week after that program, have you had the talk with your boss yet? Have you had the talk with your boss yet? Have you had the talk with your boss yet? I had to silence this dude on my phone. I was getting texts from him every week. I'd be in meetings with high-level government officials like, man, you're gonna get me like arrested here. Like, stop texting me and calling me. But you know what? The only reason I did quit my job, the only reason I did move to San Francisco, the only reason I did write a book, and the only reason I'm standing here right now is because Evan held me accountable. So when you find believers, you find accountability. So people like Debbie and Ted and Tom, they weren't talking about making lots of money. They weren't talking about their stock options. They weren't talking about becoming, getting on the cover of Entrepreneur Inc. magazine or becoming a CEO that's really rich and famous, right? They were talking about making the world more compassionate, more innovative, and more sustainable, right? So people always talk about the me, me, me generation. Millennials are the me, me, me generation. We are not me, me, me generation. 50% of millennials would take a pay cut to find work that matches their values. 90% of millennials want to use their skills for good. So this is a generation that wants to align their work with their purpose. Now then the question becomes, okay, all these people want to make a difference. How do you actually go about finding meaningful work? How do you do that? How do you make that difference? The next lesson I learned was that you have to stop comparing yourself with others and start pursuing what is meaningful to you. So remember that corporate lawyer I saw on Facebook getting engaged, my buddy that was at Machu Picchu? I reached out to him when I started to write this book about what people were doing, how people found meaningful work. I was like, man, you're killing it, you're doing amazing, you have this amazing job, you're making all this money, I'm so jealous. And you know what he told me? He told me that after all those years of law school, after all that money and all that debt, that he hated his job as a corporate lawyer, and he's actually going to go back to school at the age of 30 to become a high school social studies teacher, which is awesome. It's great for him, but what's the lesson? The grass is always greener. Instead of spending all this time worrying about what other people are doing, find out what's meaningful to you. Find out what makes you burn and you tick. So I think a really helpful exercise to do this is complete what I call an alignment Venn diagram. So figure out where your gifts match the impact you want to make on the world in a way that allows you to live the quality of life that you desire. And what's the cool thing about an alignment Venn diagram? If all of us were to complete this, all of us were to complete a diagram in this room right now, and I know we're not going to do it now, but maybe that sometime this week when you go home, think about it. If everyone were to come back, we'd all have different diagrams, right? Because meaning is different for everyone. And that's the beautiful thing. No people's two definitions are the same. Now, Debbie started Goldie Blocks because of the discrimination that she faced as one of the only female engineering students at Stanford University. Ted started MoneyThink because he grew up in Chicago and he realized that he had a lot of opportunities that his peers simply didn't have due to privilege. Tom started Rising Tide Car Wash because he saw how much trouble his own brother had getting a job because his brother has autism. So they had a deep personal connection to their work. So instead of comparing yourself to people on Facebook and comparing yourself to your friends, start figuring out what makes you tick. Start figuring out the impact that you want to have on the world. Very few people do this. So once you have a sense of what impact you want to make, how do you actually do that? You have to hustle. Now, a lot of people like to call our generation lazy. It's like, seriously? Lazy? Like, I've been paying off college loans for 10 years. I still have $15,000 of loans to pay off to Sally Mae. Right? So Sally Mae, if I ever see you on Tinder, I am swiping left. Debbie and Ted and Tom, they are not working 4 hours a week. They're working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week on projects and companies they believe in because they have found meaningful work, right? So there is no 4-hour work week when you find work that you care about or work that's changing the lives of others. Yes, people need to work less, and yes, we all need to practice more mindfulness and wellness in our lives, even people that are doing the most impactful work, but this is meaningful work. This is not a cakewalk. You have to hustle. Having a quarter-life breakthrough is not like sitting on the beach chilling. This is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do, as anyone in this room knows that's doing what they care about. Now, when I was set out to write a book, like I thought it was going to be like, oh, this is amazing. It's going to be like that scene in Love Actually when the writer character, Colin Firth, is like hanging out by the lake. He's sitting there. He like falls in love with this beautiful woman that brings him tea, and he's like typing away on a typewriter. It was like the complete opposite of that. I had 4 jobs when I was writing a book. I was writing copy for a tech company. I was volunteering for a leadership development company. I was working for another leadership development company. So it's like, no, there is no lazy generation. It's the hardest thing I've done, but that's what you have to do if you want to find meaningful work. So I don't really have time to go into all of these, but here are some strategies that I'll just run through really quickly to hustle to get your quarter-life, midlife breakthrough on. Work while planning your next leap or venture. I'm going to give the example of Debbie, because a lot of people hear my story or they see my book cover and word, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. That's it. Peace. You know? It's like, no, wait a second. That's not what you should do. Now, a lot of people know Debbie, Goldie Blocks. They had a Super Bowl commercial, many viral videos, a toy company to teach girls engineering skills. An amazing idea, right? A lot of people think, oh, Debbie, when she had that idea, must have quit her job right away, right? Actually, no. She stayed on her job more than 6 months once she had the idea. Why? First of all, she needed to save money. She was about to launch a business. She's like, I need money. Second, she realized that she was basically getting paid to get an MBA. She was working as the marketing director for a jewelry company. So she was learning invaluable skills in marketing, distribution, sales, finance, that she knew that when she left her job, she could apply to Goldie Blocks. So you don't necessarily need to quit your job right away. See, side hustles, experiences, and apprenticeships. A lot of times we talk about, people give the advice to get an entry-level job, right? I find that entry-level jobs teach people things they already know how to do. Answer the phone, schedule meetings. Most people in this room, most people in general know how to do those things. Instead, seek entry-level experiences, apprenticeships, where you get to work with a master, someone that is an expert in the field that you can learn from. Enroll in a class and learn a new skill. Skills lead to money and jobs and meaning. Crowdfund for a new venture or purpose project. I learned more from crowdfunding for my book than I think I did in like 4 years of college. And the crowdfunding campaign was like a month long. It's an amazing way to prototype a business. Work abroad, gain a global perspective. Increasingly, it's a global economy. If you learn a new language, have experience working abroad, you're just more competitive. Volunteer and gain a meaningful experience. We can always donate our time. Go to grad school, but go with intention. Go because you actually care about what you're going to learn or care about the program. Don't go to grad school because your friends are going to grad school or because your parents want you to go to grad school or because you feel like you don't know what's going on. Take time to go to grad school with intention if you do go. And invest in yourself and others and join exponential communities. Communities that have an exponential impact on their members. Communities like Starting Block. Communities like Hive, a program that I work for. Communities like Catalyst Creative, like Downtown Project. Communities that are not just looking out for one person, but if someone has a need, other people are trying to help fulfill that need. Exponential communities are everything. Ooh, excuse me. So in conclusion, there is not one answer, right? Nobody has one calling. I think our definition of meaning changes as we grow older, as we learn new things, as we meet new people, as we fall in love, as we attend events like this. Nobody has one calling. I don't think that that's possible. I think I've had 8 callings since college. I maybe even changed what I wanted to do with my life like 10 times today. I think that's okay. I'm not advocating that you find one calling, but I am advocating that if you surround yourself with believers now, if you pursue what is meaningful to you now, and if you hustle with intention now, you will change your life, you will change the lives of others, and you will change the world. Because when you pursue meaning, you inspire others to as well. People like Debbie and Ted and Tom changed my life. They're the only reason I'm standing in this room right now and not at home on Facebook freaking out about my friend, the corporate lawyer, that doesn't even want to be a corporate lawyer himself. You inspire others to as well. You ensure that the workforce of the future is going to be spending its days teaching girls engineering skills, teaching financial literacy and entrepreneurship to urban youth, employing people with disabilities, alleviating poverty, building sustainable cities, and ensuring that education is accessible and affordable to all. So we are not the me generation. We are the purpose generation. and we will be engaged with our work because we have to. The challenges facing our generation and our children's generation are simply too serious to ignore. So we can't be stuck in a quarter-life crisis, or a third-life crisis, or a midlife crisis, or an end-of-life crisis, because the stakes are too damn high. Thank you very much.